So, you want to make stop motion like me?
Hey guys, the Lukey MC here. And in this video, I'm gonna show you my personal step-by-step process on how I make a stop motion animation. So if you wanna be just like me and make this look like this, then I don't know, watch this video, I don't give a f.
Over the last 8 years on my channel, you've been able to see the growth of my stop motion skills throughout my videos. From my very first and very janky Godzilla vs. Kiryu stop motion, all the way up to my most recent project, Kong Should Have Gone for the Head, you can see there's been an exceptional increase in both the quality of animation and the use of visual effects. It's crazy how I was going from making stop motions on my iPad mini on the floor to doing what I do today. I'll let you know right now, it was a long and tedious process, and all self-taught I might add, but through my love of a giant radioactive ball sack and through my love of stop motion, I was able to get to the point I'm at today. So, for my newest project, I'm gonna be making a Godzilla vs. Hedorah stop motion. I just recently got the SH Monster Arts Hedorah, which I unboxed on this channel a few months ago, and I also just recently rewatched the movie, so a Godzilla vs. Hedorah stop motion was a perfect fit. To see how I turned this idea into a final product, I'm gonna show you every step in my process of making a heavily VFX-driven Godzilla stop motion, and the painstaking amount of time and effort that I put into making a video like this one. Also, before we get started, this is not a tutorial on how to animate figures or how to use programs like Adobe After Effects or Adobe Premiere, but rather a demonstration of how they're used in the creative process. And finally, with all that out of the way, let's make some stop motion. To produce a Godzilla stop motion with the pristine quality that a Lukey MC production is attributed to, one must acquire these items. 1. A Godzilla action figure. 2. A green screen. 3. A camera or phone with the stop motion app installed. 4. A tripod. 5. Lights. 6. A computer. 7. An editing software like iMovie or Adobe Premiere. 8. Adobe After Effects. 9. And finally, a ton of time and patience.
Oh yeah, and a table.
After acquiring your items, one must follow these simple steps to master the fine art of the Godzilla stop motion. Step 1. Dig the figures you want to use out of a cardboard box in your basement.
Epic Mega Godzilla unboxing. Perfect, right on top.
For Godzilla, I'm using the NECA Godzilla 1964. This NECA figure is perfect for stop motion because it's chunky and the joints are just a perfect tightness, so it'll hold its pose. It's definitely one of the best and most affordable articulated Showa Godzilla figures. Next, I'll be using the SH Monster Arts Hedorah, probably one of Monster Arts' best figures this year, with amazingly accurate paint, sculpt, and articulation, not to mention the good amount of accessories for the hefty $200 price. Definitely working with two great figures for this project. Step 2. Steal your roommate's desk and duct tape your green screen to the wall and to the top of the desk for maximum green screen coverage.
Hooray!
Step 3. Set up your figures and your lighting so there's minimal shadows being cast on the green screen, making it easier to key out in post. Step 4. Contemplate your entire existence as you forgot to plan out what you're gonna animate. The first mistake I always made earlier in my career was not planning out my animation beforehand, which lengthened the workflow unnecessarily. I like to storyboard my shots in Photoshop so I can get a basic understanding of the composition of the shots. As you can see, I planned out my scene in the storyboard with a total of 9 shots, but as you'll see in the final product, there's more than just the 9 shots that I planned on doing. Anyways, it opens with the establishing shot of the power plant in shot 1. Hedorah is revealed in the second shot, cheaping that hoe and shooting his goo. In shot 3, the camera tracks the sludge, ultimately landing on Godzilla's face, and the fight ensues. With this, I now have a solid reference and template to follow while I'm animating to streamline the process. Step 5. Feel a bit better now that you have a plan, but then fall into existential dread when you realize how long it's going to take to animate. There are 2 ways I capture animation. I use my Canon G7X to take each individual frame and upload the pictures into Premiere and then export to get the stop motion video. Or the easier way is to just use a simple but intuitive stop motion app, which does the whole process all on one device. I actually used both methods in this project, but I definitely recommend the second one if you're more of a beginner. But if you hate yourself, like me, then do it the first way. My way. Step 6. Animate. Each new animation I do poses a unique challenge to overcome. In this case, it's the animation of Godzilla flying and Hedorah's sludge ball. I've done the atomic breath flight in a previous stop motion test on my channel, but that animation was done entirely in post. This time, I actually want to animate Godzilla so it looks like he's jumping off the ground when he begins to fly, instead of just keyframing a still image like I did last time. Since I don't own one of those fancy stop motion arms, I put a box of Truff hot sauce underneath the green screen, with Godzilla standing on top of it with his tail hanging off the back to support his weight. I then animated Godzilla's tail separately to make it look like it's going in between his legs when he jumps off the ground. For Hedorah's sludge ball, I wanted to make it look like a piece of his body was actually coming off of him. So to do that, I took pictures of his tadpole form's head from different angles and animated them later in After Effects. Alright, now that the fun part is over, it's time to spend countless hours at the computer where the real magic happens. With the power of this bag, girl, I can turn this into this. Step 7. Import the footage to your editing software. But of course, not everything can go as smoothly as planned.
Oh boy. What's up, y'all? So, we came into a slight issue here. When I drag 541 frames into Premiere, it imports files. I didn't need to do all 500 of those. The file format is not supported, meaning that all of these frames I took cannot just go straight into Premiere. So I'm gonna have to do my old method where I put all the frames into iMovie on my laptop, export those, upload them to Drive, and put them over here so I could do them in After Effects, because you wanna have, what's it called? You wanna have,
Alright, that's enough, Jeffrey Dahmer. You're padding out the runtime. Doing this on my laptop is much less efficient and takes up a lot of unnecessary time. Regardless, I use this step of the process to speed up and slow down shots and clean up any blurry or messed up frames. I actually don't know how to fix the issue of Premiere not accepting the file types, so if anyone has a solution, please let me know in the comments. Oh yeah, there are a lot of files to work with, so it's good to organize your project folders at least a little bit. Step 8. Shave off years of your life in Adobe After Effects. This is where the real work comes in. Since I film the figures as their own separate plate on a green screen, all my creative freedom is in post-production. I can put the monsters, backgrounds, and beams anywhere I desire with minimal constraints. I always start with the background plate so I can reuse and reconstruct it depending on the shot. I create all of my backgrounds from scratch by Frankensteining PNGs from Google and color correcting. So, I'll use a concrete texture, manipulated in 3D for the base plate, cutouts of different power plant images for the structures, and a beautiful sky reflected on the ocean. Now that I have these layers as their own separate pieces, I can just reuse it depending on the angle of the shot. Then, I add in the stop motion footage, key and mask out the green screen, and color correct to blend with the background. After that, I add any effects, whether that be dust, blood, explosions, anything of the sort. I get most of my effects from Action VFX. It's like the perfect website for beginning VFX artists, and I highly recommend it. The most frequently asked question in the comments is how I do the beam effects. Well, now I'm gonna tell you. I do all of my beam effects with the free After Effects plugin called Saber. It gives the freedom to edit the shape, color, speed, and brightness of the beam. Basically everything you need for creating a cool laser beam effect. After I create the beam, I use keyframes to match the beam to the mouth. And with that, we have a finished atomic breath effect. To get the sludge ball to appear like it's stuck to Godzilla's face, I used the pictures I took of Hedorah's tadpole form and used motion tracking to create the effect. Finally, once I have my effects finished, I pre-compose everything and add some artificial camera movement using some keyframes and motion blur. The biggest challenge I faced on the VFX side was creating the goo explosion from Hedorah at the end. After some reworking, I landed on something that looks like this. I filmed time-lapse footage of me working on each shot over the course of 2 weeks with around 20 hours of working in total. But this is the reason I do stop motion. I love this process, and it's one of the things I could do for multiple hours a day without getting bored. The rest of the time, I was touching grass and getting swole and jacked! And after hours of key lights, masks, keyframes, color correction, Gaussian blur, puppet tool, time remapping, pre-compositions, and exporting, I finally finished! Step 9. Edit. Now that I have my finished visuals, I can throw them all back into Premiere to add sound effects, music, and any other fun editing tricks my tiny brain can think of. The sound effects and music make or break a Godzilla piece for me. You could have the best animation, but if those sound effects don't complement it, then you might as well just throw away the project and give up on your dreams. So, I'll just do this, and done. So now, after all of that, I have a finished product that I'm very satisfied with. But before I show it off, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you aren't already so you don't miss out on future Godzilla and stop motion content. Also, check out my new podcast, Kaiju Brain, for more in-depth talks about these videos and kaiju in general. Okay, let's view the final product.
That's it? That's it? Man, this! Taking this with me.